I'm Jon Johansen, president of Maine Built Boats, and I'm here with JB Turner from Front Street Shipyard, and we're going to do an interview over how JB got to this point.
What point that is.
So let's start right at the beginning. You grew up in Connecticut.
Yeah, I grew up in Noank, Connecticut,
Yeah.
which is not a well-known little town, but it's an old fishing village, mouth of the Mystic River. And yeah, we grew up in Noank, had a great time growing up. It was one of those older family things where you come home from school, you cross the bridge, and then the whole town's yours because there's only one way in, way out until the whistle blew at 6 o'clock, and then you go home for supper. And if you're not there by 6:15, you don't eat.
So that's right on the water.
Yeah.
So your father was a boater, I know, because he had a Holland 32.
Yeah, he had a Holland 32. We had a couple different boats as I was growing up. And he grew up sailing, but he was the first one in the family that did.
Right.
Both my grandparents weren't into boating at all. They lived in Mystic and Noank as well, but weren't into it. So my father took off with the lobstering and sailing, especially. And then...
So what were the boats that he had?
Well, growing up, I started with an S boat in the 60s.
Yeah, on the Hershov?
Yep. And then after that, we sort of got a family cruising power boat for a couple of years. And that almost blew up a couple of times because it had big gas engines that were dangerous.
Who built that?
I can't remember who it was. But there was
somebody local?
No, she was from Massachusetts somewhere.
Yeah. And
then we bought a CNC 31. It was called a Corvette sailboat. And we sailed on that as a family for 5 or 6 years. Called Jaeger. My father always named boats after the birds. So Skua, Jaeger, all that kind of stuff. And then I grew up sailing beetle cats. We had 2 of them.
Yeah.
We formed the Mystic River Beetle Cat Association. And my father was part of that. So we raced beetle cats as much as you can race a beetle cat. We had probably 30 of them at one point.
That's a lot.
It was a lot of beetles. Yep.
I wonder how many they've built over the years. But
a lot. We went to the shop when I was a kid. My father took us up to Cape Cod, and we met with them and showed us how they were building them. And it was interesting. Yeah, there was only a couple of people working in the shop, so it was really, as a kid, it was like, oh, this is cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll never forget going to that shop.
Was that the first time you got into one of those shops?
Well, growing up, there was a lot of small boat building going around Mystic area, and lobstering. There was a lot of lobstering back then. There was a lot of lobstering going on. My neighbor was one of the biggest lobstermen in Connecticut, Georgia, Maine.
Yeah,
and he ran a bunch of boats. And my brother worked for him. I never did, but we used to go down and watch them building the pots in the winter. Right down, and sometimes I'd help, nail a few things. And I always built pots with my father. We had a little shed, and we'd build. He had a 25 pot license, so we'd build pots to keep anything to keep my brothers and I out of the house. My mom on the weekends, my father would build pots out in the little shop we had. Yeah.
And so you fished right out off the mouth of the Mystic River?
Yeah, we were in West Cove, which is on the other side from the Mystic River, but it's just a peninsula. It's a small peninsula. So we were out of West Cove, and my father would go up by Mouse Island and Fisher's Island. We'd run around picking up a few pots.
Was it worth it?
Well, he would take the meat and sell it. And that was enough to buy steak that he and I would eat. My mom and my other brother would eat lobster.
Right. You never eat lobster?
Well, I do sometimes, but not as much as they do.
Right. You'd prefer steak.
I'd have steak with my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of Maine lobster boats down there at that time, too, wasn't there?
Yeah, no, they were everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Noank had a lot of fishermen there at one point.
Well, how did you get into the boat yard business?
Well, so I went to college for business management. I went to Bryant College, but during the summers I was helping run a charter boat business while I was in college. And then the last 2 years of college, I ran the business. I started out, worked for Clay Burkhalter, and then kind of worked up through that. For the last 2 years, I ran it as a bareboat charter business out of Dawson's in Connecticut, and we had 25 boats. And basically it was myself and this kid I called a rat to clean them. And when they were pretty successful, but it was a lot of work, but I learned a ton doing it because basically the boatyard said, we're not going to help you. We got too much going on. The boats break. You got to figure it out yourself, kid. So I had to.
Right.
To replace pumps, I had to fix engines, I had to do all the stuff. And they would give me tips, but that's about as far as it went.
Advice was free.
Advice was free, but don't ask too many times. So when I graduated, I ran the charter business that summer. And then Bob Snyder asked if I would join the yard. And at that point, it was either a choice of managing or Cumberland Farms or managing a boatyard. And I picked the boatyard every day of the week. So
What year was this?
that was 86.
Okay.
So then I quickly moved into the yard and was assistant yard manager under Bob for a while. But that winter, the first winter, Bob had a stroke. So he decided to take his family, and they were going to go after he recovered from the stroke. He went out west, and they went on a big, like, see you later. Boatyard's yours. Good luck. Hope it goes well. I go, all right, here I go. And his brother Matt helped because he was a really good mechanic from the mechanic side, and Bob's dad was around. But basically, I was running the yard, so that was like trial by fire. So I went from running a 25 boat charter business, running a boatyard with 35 employees and storing 140 boats at the time.
Because that was a pretty big boat, yeah, because that's where I met you the first time.
Yeah.
Was down around 1990, 91, I believe, when you had just become the head manager, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Because
He was kind of the head guy, and then when Bob came back, I still just kept running the yard, and so Bob still runs it to this day. In fact, I talked to Bob an hour ago.
Did you?
We're still staying in touch.
So you were at Dodson's for a long time.
Well, a long time in that I was working for them for the charter business. But when I moved into the service area, it was really only about 8 years.
Yeah.
In running the yard. And then I wanted to work on bigger boats. And so I started I thought I wanted to, Maine at the time, I thought would be a great place to learn about bigger boats.
Had you been up here before?
Nope. Only on New York outbound cruises with customers.
Right.
And at that point, I thought it was always low tide and always foggy. I was like, why did anybody live here? You can't see land, and it's always mud. But I had this same thing in my head that I wanted to work on bigger boats with bigger systems and learn more about that end of the world. So I literally, I was married at the time. We just had my daughter, and we came up and stayed at the inn at Camden Hills. And I said, as I always do, I'm just going to go around the boatyard and see what's going on. I went down to the Wayfarer, and I met Stuart Farnham, and chatted with him for a while. And then he hooked me up with Michael Mahan, who was the president at the time. And then we chatted for another hour or so. And by the end of the day, basically, they'd hired me to come up to Maine, be a service manager. That was in the fall, so I didn't start there until spring.
Right.
Yeah. So I was kind of unwinding from Dodson's. That was really the only service manager of Dodson's. I had to get all my customers kind of transferred around and get everything going well for them. And then come up here, and Wilson and I took on the world at Wayfarer.
So what year was that when you...
That was 94.
94?
Yeah. Spring of 94 is when I started at Wayfarer.
Yeah. And what was your job there?
Service manager.
Service manager?
Yeah.
And so you got to work on big boats?
Yeah, I took on a lot of the bigger boats because I wanted to learn more. And Wilson was fine. And he and I were best friends and got along great, Wilson Darwin. So we were the two service managers, and we split everything up, and it was a good time.
Right.
But it was a lot of work, and it was 60 to 80 hour work weeks every week. But again, learn more things about bigger boats, systems, different types of boats, aluminum, steel, fiberglass. But still only the basics as far as hull construction goes. And then, we got into some potential building things. So one of my favorite stories is they asked me to go over to, at the time, they were still building boats at Abel's.
Yep.
So they said, Jay, why don't you go over and we want to build a boat, so why don't you go and check that out? So Tad Woodall flew me over, and we went over there, and I was crawling around the inside of this, like we were building a Wolf class at that time with 34s and 36s.
Yeah.
And I'm crawling around in the bilge going, this is impossible. I can't go. This is nuts. So we came back. We never did build a boat. Really build a boat at Wayfair. Pre-built a bunch, but we didn't build a lot.
Right.
And so that was, only 4.5 years, but it seemed like an awful lot of hours.
I bet it was.
It was really busy back then at the time. We always had 3 to 4 boats drafted out all the time in the harbor.
Mm-hmm.
We were just crazy busy, which was good.
Right.
And you learn a lot doing that whole thing, but it was a lot of work. And so then in 98, I got a call from Stuart. Stuart had left, Stuart Farnham, and he's working over at Lyman Morris, and he called me up and said, would you be interested in talking to Cabot about building boats? And I said, well, at that point it was a fall, so I was completely burned out from all of the major refits we had been working on. I said, it's got to be better than working on the goddamn thing, so we'll try building it. So I went over and met with Cabot, who I'd never met before.
Right.
And just started conversations back and forth for a month or so. And then I joined on over there.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea there was that he wanted to go sailing, and so I would run the yard, and he would go sail in the Pacific, and that was our deal for a long time.
Right.
We had a sweat equity set up, so it would, every year I worked, I got a small percentage of the business.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
And you had a good time there. You did a lot of big projects.
A lot of big projects. We built it turned out to be about 12 years total there. 11 and a half. We built 34 boats,
mm-hmm.
but ranging in size from 30 to 94.
Right.
All sail, power, aluminum.
It didn't make a difference, did it?
We could do anything at that time. We got up to 200 people,
mm-hmm.
and we could basically take on anything. We had 7 different designers working at one point on 7 different custom boats.
That's a little hard to juggle.
It was. 200 people is too many. 150 worked pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we got back down to 150, that was pretty efficient. 200 was like, yeah. That's a lot of management.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of keeping track of everybody.
Right, which is almost impossible to do.
Exactly.
Right. You got to have people you can trust.
Yeah. And I always focused on the boat building side. I didn't let the service side kind of run itself.
Yeah.
We had so many people that we were able to actually drive the overhead costs down because, and then the service side could make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
It was not paying any overtime. The overhead was all being covered by the boat building side.
Right.
So that was good.
So what were some of the notable boats you built there?
Oh, we built a whole bunch. It wasn't so much the boats. I mean, some of the boats were really important to our progression.
Mm-hmm.
And but as the people were always the interesting part because, there's a lot of characters out there in this industry.
Oh, yes.
We met a lot of them. I think one of our most important boats probably was Magpie, which is a 74-footer that we built.
Powerboat, was it?
Powerboat.
Yep.
Ward Setzer design. It was a change in Lyman Morris from sort of standard interiors and systems, sort of the 80s and 90s look, to just like top end, world-class joinery, high-end finishes, lots of, hand carvings,
mm-hmm.
really ornate stuff that we were doing. We were able to do because Mac Ferris had come into the cabinet shop and he was super, and he and I and Bill Bellier worked really well together to create all this stuff. My part was that I could, like, my grandfather was an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get any talent. I can't draw a straight line in the world. I can see this. I can see the whole thing when somebody talks to me about something. I can see the whole project finished.
Mm-hmm.
All the colors so when we built Magpie, I would sit in the main salon and the companion would just look out, and then the owner would be talking to me and said, "I got it. I know exactly what you want to do." And then between myself and Mac and Bill, we'd put the pieces all together.
Right.
So that was an important change, I think, for Lyman Morris to bring it up to actual world class when people come on board on this is Iceman level, this is
mm-hmm.
European level.
Yeah.
Which was nice. And we kind of kept that going for a long time.
And George worked there. That was the guy that was one of the first employees here.
George Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
Greatest craftsman known to man. Just a genius. He could do anything. He really could do anything. and make it look like he was doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He could have 4 or 5 projects going at the same time. He'd have all of them completely figured out in his mind. And he'd just be working on one and the other very slowly, very methodically. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, how did you do that?
Right.
One time we were going to go to a boat show. This is at Lyman Morse. We had a boat show that we were going to on the weekend. It was Wednesday morning. And he said, well, I want to make a wheel for the stand. I said, well, sure. For the next show, we'll have it ready to go. I came in Friday morning and it was built and varnished. This is a turned wheel, laminated.
Uh-huh.
I said, that's not possible.
Did he tell you how he did it?
No. It's George. We just say, every time we look at something and go, I wonder why it was built that way. And then we go, well, George did it, so it makes more sense than we can figure out.
Right. Yeah, because he really was something up and down the coast. He was a legend.
He is one of the greatest builders of anything.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what material you were talking about. He could do it.
Where did he learn? Do you know?
He was born in Connecticut, moved up here in the 80s or 90s, I think. And I don't really know where he really learned. I think he just was able to absorb so much and so fast.
Right.
That he just moved right into it. He was working for me at Lyman Morse for a long time. And he was one of the first employees here.
Yeah.
And he built his own boats.
He lived on it.
Yeah, lived aboard boats. He built boats for other people. Just simple.
Mm-hmm.
Plywood, bitch-a-thing bottoms.
Right.
But they were great.
Huh.
And fast. I mean, he could build a 50-footer in a shed with 2x4s and 2x6s in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Done. Hull, deck, everything by himself.
No downtime.
Nope.
So what were some of the other progressions at Lyman Morse that you went through? Like with boats?
Well, we started out with there was a bunch of the 30s that we built in the beginning because it was the jet boats, and that was when jet boat craze was happening up at Hinckley.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had to have a jet boat. No matter who made it, it had to be a jet boat.
Right.
And Hinckley couldn't build them fast enough, so we built a bunch of 30s. Those were fun projects. And we dubbed those in with some of the bigger projects going on. So the first 2 boats that I was involved in was Windwalker, which is a 60-foot hood. And I think it was the last design that Ted Hood himself did.
Mm-hmm.
She's a 60. And then we did Nighthawk, which is a 55-foot S&S powerboat. It looks a lot like a Fleming,
mm-hmm.
but it's custom. So those 2 were a huge learning curve for me to get into the boat building side. And luckily the guys at the yard spent a lot of time with me about, that's where I really picked up on the composite stuff. So I get involved in the actual construction of the
mm-hmm.
fusion, where you scrimped all the boats.
Right.
And laminating. And I was very involved in all that. I was,
mm-hmm.
damn that.
You like that.
I was pouring resin and, turning lines on. Following direction well. We're learning about it all, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you grow up in a service yard, I think you don't really understand how the laminate, if you're working on fiberglass boats, how the laminates work,
mm-hmm.
all the axes, and how you create a laminate schedule. And when you get into the boat building side, you really understand where the structure is and how it spreads the loads. And that was really something I started learning back at Dodson's. I had one of the great carpenters down there, Bill Mills, who would spend time with me as a young kid. We'd sit down below in these IODs, which were the Fisher's Island Fleet, which
mm-hmm.
I called IOUs because they were always in need of so much work. But he and I would sit below, and he just explained to me, this is the triangle that's created, and this is where the strength comes from, and this is where the load goes. And he'd spend, 20 minutes at a time just pointing things out. And I'd be like a little sponge. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I get it. But how it all works. Mm-hmm. And they just keep applying that as you go along, So when people ask me now about, well, how should I do this? I can kind of in my head figure out where all the loads are going to go and what the limit should be.
Mm-hmm.
So it all kind of builds right over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Other than I forget a lot.
We all do. Happens.
It happens. But when people ask me a question, I can usually answer it.
Mm-hmm.
So and other boats we did, like I was saying, the boat for the 94 for all the way up to the 94 for George Walter. We built the follow-up to Magpie was Wombat, which was an 80-footer. And then But we built, in between that, we built another 84-footer for Bert Keenan.
Mhm.
Another character who was actually very involved in the original group of building Front Street.
Mhm.
And he was from Louisiana, and he had some great stories. He and I talked on the phone every day except Sunday for 2 years. Every day.
Mhm.
I mean, every single day except Sundays. And so we got to be really good friends, obviously.
Right.
And we got to use the boat after we finished it.
Mhm.
He was a great ocean racing sailor. He was actually on one of the crews for the famous Whitbread race. He was in the 79
The Fastnet.
Fastnet race
Yeah.
where everybody got banged up.
Yeah.
But his boat, he and Ted Turner were head of the fleet.
Right. So they didn't
They
get
didn't get walloped.
No.
The rest.
It was usually the little ones that got walloped.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was right behind Ted on his boat, Acadia, which is all the boats are named Acadia.
Right.
Yeah. So, those are just characters that come along. But the boat process was great, too, because he was so involved in it. He built a cat catch with Cabot years before that, and then he built the 84 with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of built a lot of relationships, which was really the funnest part of the whole thing. The boats are one thing, but the relationships are more fun in a way.
Right.
Because
sometimes, right?
Well, sometimes right, sometimes not. But we were fortunate to have a really good group of people building custom boats.
Right.
That knew what they wanted for the most part and would let us do our thing. But when we asked questions, we'd answer them. They became friends all along. I mean, all of them that I can think of,
Mm-hmm.
except one.
There's always one in the bunch. Yeah.
But if 1 out of 34, that's not so bad.
Right.
Yeah. And then all the service yard stuff. And we get to build aluminum boats, too.
Mm-hmm.
Something I hadn't done. And I literally I ordered on Amazon. I think Amazon just started. How do you cut construction of an aluminum boat? And I read that book so I could even begin to understand how to put this boat that we'd already said, we could build together.
I've seen that done before.
Yeah. So we built it upside down, and over the jigget we'd purchased Steel Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Just. So we're integrating that crew into our crew.
Right.
And that's when we decided to build some aluminum.
That was a good buy, wasn't it?
It was a smart thing to do. Yep. We built a couple boats for Jeff Pierce. We built a Barbara, which is still here.
Mm-hmm.
We store her now.
Yeah.
And Michael Porter and Barbara still on her.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those are all good, successful projects, too.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you left Lyman Morse.
I did. I left. I went to Kenway for a whole year. So I met Ken Priest, who became one of my partners.
Yeah.
And I worked there. It's all composites, right?
And how did you know Ken before this?
Nope. I called up Ken and asked him to be interested in talking with me about a job. And I met him at I think it was Panera Bread for lunch up in Augusta. And we chatted for a while, and he said, yeah, I think we got a spot for you. So I went up there for a year.
So what'd you do for him?
All kinds of weird projects. So I get involved in some of those weird projects, like the building a composite wind machine. I mean, the whole thing, not just the blades, but the housing, everything else, and setting it on the tower. That was an experience.
Yeah. Did you have to go up there?
I didn't, but the guy who did almost didn't come back.
Ooh.
He was so scared.
Really? He almost stayed
up there forever. Because the last thing you have to do is you have to climb up to this is about 150 feet up.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you do is you go up, and then the man lift goes up to about 150, and then you have to free climb up to the top to unhook the
crane. Yeah.
So the guy who went up, one of my guys went up with the guy who did free climbing, and then at 150 feet, when you pull away on a man lift, it doesn't just stop; it just starts wobbling. Like seriously, it would screams you could hear for miles. Yeah. So, but we did all kinds of fun projects like that.
A lot of what you did, fiberglass Y, or did you already have?
Yeah.
That all came at Lyman Morse?
Yeah, all the infusion stuff and understanding of how the structure all works was really fun, more from the boat building side. And then you can just transfer that up there. In fact, when I started with Ken, they were building the skiffs,
Mm-hmm.
and the way they were infusing, just like heart stopped the first time I watched it. And they opened all the lines all at once. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. What are you doing? And of course, they had dry spouts because they opened all the lines at once. They said, yeah, it happens every time. I said, well, don't do it that way. You script it. You do one line, then you go to the next line, then you go to the next line, and it works every single time perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And they switched to doing that, and lo and behold, it didn't have any more dry spots.
So who taught you scrimping? Because at Lyman Morse, there wouldn't have been anybody there that knew.
Oh yeah, we were doing it then,
Right.
And I actually went to scrimp school with Jon Johansen at TPI.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
Yep.
So while you were with Ken Priest.
Yep. While we were there.
Yeah.
And how Front Street all came about was actually because of Maine Marine Trades. I was on the board. Steve White was on the board at the time. And we went out to lunch afterwards and went to Applebee's in Augusta, because we always hit the highlights of all Augusta restaurants. We started talking about the fact that there was some land available down in Belfast that he had heard about, and said, well, why don't we get together and take a look at it? So we got together the next day and we walked the land and got pretty excited about how flat it was, not about anything else about it, but how flat it was. And it had deep water. So Steve called up his brother-in-law, Taylor Allen, and said, do you want to take a look at this with us? It looks pretty interesting. So we all walked around again, and we all got pretty excited about it. And then the city actually helped us the most in the very beginning, because the current owners were trying to turn it into condos. Like where we're sitting was supposed to be condos.
All right. I remember that mess.
Yeah, it was a mess. And the city realized it was a mess. And there were covenants that were made by the group that was trying to build the condos that were being broken left and right. So the city, to help us, started litigation against the condo owners that helped them decide to negotiate, because they didn't really want to negotiate. Taylor and Steve and I got together, and we started the process while I was still working at Kenway. And about 2 months into that, I went to Ken's office and I said, I know I've been leaving a lot because of the dentist, but clearly it isn't working well. So, let me tell you what's really going on. We're looking at buying this land, and we were thinking about starting a boatyard. And Ken I didn't even finish my explanation. Ken's like, stop, I want in. And so
he's on board.
Ken was on board.
Yeah. And
then at the end, Lucia joined in, which is Taylor's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very end, Bert Keenan, who I mentioned earlier,
right.
He had a friend of his who was selling his company to Halliburton. And so he had money on the 31st. We closed on the 11th of January. So on the 31st, he closed on his business. And Bert called up his friend and said, boy, I think you're going to have to help these guys. And nobody says no to Bert. So Jack said, okay. And he became a partner with us also, and our investor, mm-hmm. which was hugely key to our success. Mm-hmm. Because, the banks were like, okay, we'll give you $200,000. And then,
well, that doesn't buy much, does it?
You can buy 6 pilings.
Exactly.
But I need 600. Mm-hmm. But Jack was key to the whole thing, and he went along. We set up a loan structure, and his deal was, he said, now in 3 years I want out, and I want you to have the bank take over. And so we built everything. And then after 3.5 years...
he stayed on longer, didn't he?
About 3.5.
Did he?
And that's the devilest.
So take us through the transition of this piece of property, because I remember how it looked. Yeah. There was, 3 buildings? And basically the condos were trashed.
Because there was 1 story left of the old sardine cannery. There was right. 1 level. So when we started, we had part of our covenant in our agreement with the city when we bought it, the land, mm-hmm. we had to tear down what was left of the sardine / condo
right.
mess. And that didn't take long. Literally, an excavator came in and touched the deck, and the whole thing just collapsed.
Cool.
It was amazing. So then we had to clean up all the rubble and get it all out of there. But
Right.
so that was at the same time we had was building 2, where that was where the freezer plant was. It was a wooden building, part of the dock system now. And we decided to tear that down because we thought, tried to save it, and we just couldn't save it. It was too far gone. All the pylons were rotten. We had to take the whole thing and start all over again. And building over the water was not something that was easy to do.
Right.
What is now building 3 was where they built the sardine cans. And that had collapsed in on itself. So that was another inspiring walkthrough. Bought it. Building 4, what we call building 4A now, was really just at the time was where they did all the trucking in and out of. It was just a loading dock. And building 4 was really the only building that was worth anything. That was the last building the sardine factory had built. And that's where they stored the sardines. Building 5 and 6 were over railroad land. Where there were railroad buildings still. 6 was on the parking lot. So when we started, we really only had building 4 and a shack that I bought from.
Yeah, I remember the shack.
It's still a dock house. We cut it in half and made it into our dock house.
Okay.
But yeah, we just hired every contractor Maine Coast could come up with, and McCormick's and anybody to rebuild the whole place, and we did it really pretty quickly. I mean, people talk about how fast it is now, but I said no, we built everything in a year. For what you see now, it didn't happen over 10 years. It was a year, other than building 6. So we built number 5 in 2011, the same time as we were building, rebuilding 3, 4, 4A, and we built 5 all in 2011, and put the travel lift in, the first travel lift, the 150.
Right.
So it was,
and all the docks.
And most of the docks. Not all of them, but most of the docks. Yep. George Davis, we were talking about earlier, he literally hand-built most of those docks himself, and the fixed docks out here.
Yeah.
By himself. I remember him being out there in like March, snow, rain, and he's out there just nailing boards down to make a dock. But again, between the city and the state, everything moved lightning speed.
The city was always good to you.
We had meetings on top of meetings. I mean, they pushed the edge. You have to, every meeting has to be broadcast for 2 weeks. And you have to put ads in the paper and all that stuff. But they pushed the edge of those envelopes all the way for us. The very first meeting we had at the city council, we said, we want to be operational by June. And they're like, whoo. They look down here and see a bunch of mud, broken down buildings. Like, wow, these guys are really on something. But it happened, and mostly not only because of Jack and us pushing, but also because the city was desperate to help us. Because the city was, not in the best of times at that point either. So it was really a collaboration to make everything better. So it's been good, and we still work together on different projects, and we probably will well into the future.
Yeah, but they're been really good to you.
Yeah, but not in a overt way, just helpful when they need to be helpful. That first group that we worked with when we built the whole yard was, with Wayne Marshall and Joe was the city manager and the whole council at that time. They were just, every one of them lock and step behind us, pushing this whole project along.
Yeah.
Everybody had the same vision, the same goals.
But that doesn't normally happen in towns.
No, in a lot of towns it doesn't happen. And for different reasons. Sometimes people lose sight of what the goal is.
Right.
But in this case, we kind of held it all together, and they're still behind us. And they built a whole walkway that goes 2.5 miles up the river. So, which I never honestly thought was going to be a great thing, but it is mind-boggling in the summer how many people are on it.
Right.
Thousands of people now. But it doesn't, and then it walks, it's probably the only public walk that goes right through a shipyard on the east coast of the United States that I can think of.
Right.
Most shipyards want to keep people out. We have when people going right through it. And to date, we haven't pressure washed anybody that's complained. But there's plenty of opportunities to get cooled off in the summer.
Right. Just wait a while.
Yep.
So what were some of the first projects you got to do here? Because it was very interesting how quick you were up and running and had projects.
Yeah.
Because Stoneface was the big one.
Exactly. That was our first big project. And that was just, again, happenstance. And you take care of your part of the bargain, we'll take care of our part of the bargain. We were sitting down here in the shack, which was global headquarters at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is wooden shack, literally,
Mm-hmm.
that I bought at Shed City. And this guy walked in wearing a nice shirt and nice shorts and said, would you be interested in building or rebuilding a 106-foot burger? Like, sure. So where would you do that? And I said, well, come out with me. So I walk out and I said, picture a building over here, a big one. And I said, if you bring your boat up here, I'd never even seen Stoneface yet.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll build a building. I didn't ask Jack yet. He said we would. I went down. The owner had a jet come pick us up. We went down to New Jersey, looked at Stoneface, which is in Barnegat Bay, and it was a wreck. And I mean, a wreck. And I was looking around the boat going, I don't think it can make it to Maine. There were wires coming across the engine room, just butt spliced together. I mean, it's tight.
Yeah.
It's like a spider web. Like, everything was black. Like, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But he kept his word. They arrived in November. We kept our word. We built the building from basically July to December.
This is number 5, right?
5 building. Yeah.
Yeah.
We moved the boat in. There was still no power in the building for the first couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
but she was inside. We were starting to take her apart, and we grew the workforce from, I think we had 10 employees in July to 115 by February.
Mm-hmm.
So that got us going. And Stoneface turned into a complete rebuild.
She was here for what, 2 years?
A year, a little over a year.
Yeah.
In fact, she left in January of 2012. I just was looking at the video on my phone.
Right.
And, totally rewired the boat 100%, not a single original wire. Rebuilt all the forward cabins, rebuilt the engine room completely. And one of the nice things, and this is just very recent, 2 weeks ago, I started getting calls from people just out of the blue that brokers or emails and said, well, I was just aboard Stoneface. My God, it's so beautiful. I can't believe the engine room. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe. And now, because it just came for sale, all these people are coming aboard. I say, well, that's fantastic. Mr. Riley kept it in perfect condition.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to hear, our first project is still a loved project.
Right.
And she's for sale if anybody wants to buy her.
Yeah, I saw it for sale.
Yeah.
I turned the page. I'd like to stay married.
And then Mr. Riley was so happy with that refit that he brought Sinbad back a couple years ago, which is another one of his boats. It's a steel fishing trawler, but it's a yacht.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another, big step. Having a back-to-back really good customer. And then we had a lot of big projects in between that. But Stoneface was really the
Launched the place.
Being able to build up really fast employees, get the team assembled, get the management system. And I was, again, lucky that a lot of the guys that were at Lyman Morse with me came.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to manage the whole thing by myself every day.
Right.
The managers were already there. Crews were being set up.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, we're just in Belfast instead of Thomaston, but we're rolling.
Right.
Yeah, it was great.
It was interesting. One time I asked Steve, did you ever think there was a hole in the yacht repair business this big to make this thing work? And he said, no way.
Yeah.
Were you in the same? Did you think that?
Oh yeah, you build it and they'll come.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you're talking about storage and heated storage and all that, you can't put up enough sheds.
Right. But I think the repairs, really, he said that they just, kind of materialized like instantly.
Well,
yeah.
Boats break.
Uh-huh. A lot.
All you have to do is put them in the water. Sometimes you don't even have to do that.
Nope. Don't use them is the worst thing, I always thought.
You're right.
You're right. Then I thought the next big step was the travel lift, the big travel lift.
Yeah, and that was a long debate. That was probably the most of our ownership group we debated. We looked at Newport Shipyard. We're always looking at Newport Shipyard and saying, what are they doing? And they had at the time the 330. So originally I was looking at a 330 lift. And then they moved up to the 500 and we were thinking about it. So I decided, well, we don't really need 500, what we need. So we ended up at 440. So it happened to be down at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, and Directors was coming online with their 900-ton machine. So I left the show, went over to see the Directors. I happened to run into Paul and talked to him for a bit. And that was the weekend they were commissioning it. And he said, you just got to talk to these guys at Chimolai because they're just really easy to work with. So like Monday, I called them the following Monday. And by Friday, we'd order the machine.
Now, they're brothers, right? There's two brothers?
Two brothers, very interesting Italian, very suave and sophisticated.
Yeah.
As Nicole will tell you. But one brother handles, and this is a huge, huge company. They build all the bridges and roads in Europe. Mm-hmm. They built the soccer stadium in Athens, Olympic Stadium in Athens, the soccer stadium in Brazil. They built the Panama Canal locks. They righted the ship that sank over in Italy. They do all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So one brother only does things that are fixed, like bridges, roads, stuff. The other brother does everything that moves. So like when they built the Panama Canal, one brother worked on the locks. The other brother figured out how the lock was going to open and close. And they worked together on it all. And they built incredible machines. So our travels are really just an offshoot of what they already do, because they use those for moving huge pieces of steel around anyways.
Right. So
they had built the big 900 for Directors. So I called them on Monday. They said, sure, 16 tires, 32. What do you want? I don't care. Literally. I said, okay. So by Friday, we were ordering a machine. Mm-hmm. And we got the machine. And then we were doing this thing where we were working with Tom Brunel to get the boats into Building 5. We'd haul a 150-footer on the travel lift, on the big lift. We'd take it over and set it on Tom's 150-ton trailer. Mm-hmm. But the boat would weigh more than 150 tons. So we'd block the trailer. We'd get the boat all chucked up in the trailer and act it like a cradle. And then it attaches pneumatic tires and lift it. And we'd bring our small lift over. The big lift would leave. The small lift would come over it. And together, Tom's trailer and our small lift, we would drive it into the building. But it was interesting because the trailer was going level, but the travel lift was going uphill. Mm-hmm. So we had to stop and adjust constantly. So basically, I took on the role of running the travel lift at that point, because if anything happened, I wanted to be the guy running it, not one of my guys.
Right.
So I would work with Tom when we get the boats in. But it was, it was really, really safe, but it scared the hell out of the crews and the owners, having these two machines working together to get the thing in. So again, after lots of discussion with my partners, we finally decided to do Building 6,
right,
where the lift can just drive in, put the boat down, drive away. And that's where we had to put all the financing pieces together, because we were at the edge of our credit limit everywhere in the world.
Right.
we couldn't get the money to buy a hot dog over the stand across the street. We had to
pay cash.
Yeah, bring cash. No credit. But in the end of the day, it was huge. I mean, it brought us more work. We had some huge refits in there, and it certainly paid for itself. And we never missed a payment on anything.
Right. No, it's amazing some of the projects that you've had, because you've brought in a lot from the Academy.
Yep. Yeah, we were great with them.
The Seacoast Mission, you do
a big project with them. But yeah, it's a whole variety of steel, aluminum, fiberglass, whatever.
Well, it's kind of a joke in Maine Coastal News that, I could come here every week and get brand new news. In a way, it's probably pretty close to being true.
Not true.
No, because the projects move in and out really, really fast.
Yeah, except the big ones.
Well, yeah, because they're so in depth.
Yeah, we're daring deep down into a lot of these boats.
So how many employees are here now?
We're steady around 95 or 100 usually.
Is that a nice number?
It's a good number. We'd like to have more. We're always looking for more good people. We could use more mechanics, more carpenters, more painters all the time. I mean, all the time. And good people.
Right.
But we'd also train a lot of people. We've trained so many mechanics that have moved up into the different systems.
Right.
So that we're actually getting specialized now. Some are gravitating towards hydraulics, some towards electrical.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to watch people grow too and see where they go.
Right.
But we always need more.
Mm-hmm.
Always. We'd like to do more boat building, but we can't get more people, so we don't. And we have 3 boats starting, one finishing up, one in the middle, and one starting now. This is the boat building side of things, but we can't grow that because we can't get more employees. So we have to have the service side because that just makes more money.
Do you see a way that we could train more people? I mean, people have tried almost everything to increase the number of people working, and it just doesn't seem to be working.
It's not. And the people have to want to work.
Mm-hmm.
And some do,
right,
but some don't. And that really changed during the pandemic. And hopefully it will start to come back around so more people will want to work.
Mm-hmm.
The only way it's ever worked for us, this is now talking about 25 years of boat building, is just training them in-house.
Right.
Need more people, for sure. This industry, like every industry. I mean, I talk to people all over the world, literally. Mm-hmm. Everybody has the same problem throughout the world. It's not a United States problem. It's global.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you see the future? What do you see now here?
Well, we just keep working and growing and getting people on more projects, more interesting projects. We're always sort of on the leading edge of whatever process we're in, whether we're doing a refit.
Right. You're still working for the military?
We're doing some military projects, finishing up one now. And we're doing a carbon fiber water taxi up at Pole Patrol, which is our offsite facility for composites, which is going to be interesting. It's a solar-powered water taxi, all carbon. Mm-hmm. So those kind of the things we're interested in getting into. And, always looking for the next big refit. So, any of those projects would be great. And you never know when the phone rings next. We've been lucky. We've had the phone ring all for the last 15 years, and that's been a really great thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we put out some good work. I think we have a pretty good reputation up on the coast.
You had a very good one.
So we keep trying to do that.
But I think you go beyond the coast, right?
Oh, we do. Yeah. But it's important to be.
But most of the work comes from the East Coast, right?
Most of the work comes from Maine.
Right.
I mean, our customers, our winter storage customers and our summer storage customers for the docks, that's our key. Mm-hmm. Without those people, we aren't anything.
Right.
You can have all the big boats you want in the world, but you don't take care of your local friends, then you're done. It's local friends, they care about you, you care about them.
Right.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.